Good morning, everybody. This is Rajesh Jampalla from PB Siddhartha College of Arts and Science. Welcoming you all to the workshop on Fixing the Missing. We are very grateful to the National NHRD Network Chapter, Hyderabad Chapter, for coming forward to come up with a wonderful proposal to share their knowledge, their wealth of knowledge, in order to make our students prepare for the future. So in this regard, we have with us Mr. Srini Udumula, the Chief People Officer of IndusInd Bank. He is going to explain to you what are the preparations you require to make yourself acceptable by the industry. He is having a wealth of experience, and he has been associated with Hyderabad Chapter since many years. He is my counterpart. He is a president of National NHRD Network, which is the premier HR body, having a lot of programs. And with this initiation, they want to spend almost 100 hours to share their knowledge and prepare you, especially in Vijayawada. Ours is the first college they selected to share their knowledge apart from the other institutions in Telangana. So we are very fortunate in this regard, especially for the lead taken by the president of National NHRD Network Chapter, Srini Udumula. For want of time, now I request Srini to start his session. Welcome you, Srini.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Garu, for giving me an opportunity and all of us an opportunity to work with your institution. Like Rajesh Garu said, for one of the first institutions with whom we are doing this program, we as practicing professionals, me and my colleagues from National NHRD Network, we all believe that we have something to give back to the institutions. And we see the future managers of the industry coming from all of you. And it's extremely important we invest time, energy, and some of the thoughts with all of you so that we have better equipped students who will be coming into the corporate world. With that vision, actually, we started this whole thing called Mentor at Campus. Under the broader umbrella of Mentor at Campus, we have this first program called Get Set Go. This is basically working with the students in imparting skills, which typically you may or may not have got through your classrooms specifically, because obviously enough and more has been covered through your curriculum, but this is something which is outside the curriculum. We'll try and address that. This is one which we are trying to do. Maybe a quarter later, we will also be looking at in terms of bridging the gap between what gets taught in the colleges and what gets practiced in the corporate world. So we'll be doing some kind of a faculty development program. That is something we are planning in this coming summer, so that you all get to understand beyond the book, what gets done in the corporate world. So that's another effort we're going to do. Today is the first session we're going to have, and it's going to be quite brief. And we will be trying to, like Rajesh said, fixing the missing, right? So what's missing and how do we fix it? That's what we're going to talk about it. Predominantly, this is going to be, I'm not sure how many people are second year students and how many people are first year students, but this is going to be hovering around how do you prepare a resume, how do you handle an interview, and how critical are the interpersonal skills, and also about, how do you position yourself for the internship programs, right, if there's anybody. But quite relevant for anybody who is planning to look at in terms of preparing a resume of theirs so that they can showcase what they can, and also how do you prepare for the interview. So without while the session is going on, no problem. In case anybody wants to have a question, you can stop and ask me a question, or you can put it in the private chat and I'll be happy to answer. Yeah, so I hope all of you can see this, and I'm presuming that we are good to go, right? Yeah, preparing an appropriate resume, right? This becomes extremely important, and especially it's even more important in the current scenario. The reason being that that's the first document which anybody gets to see, and you want to be talking through your resume to the other person who wants to hire, right? And especially in a virtual world where we are doing everything digital, this one document will be the most important thing in terms of your ability to cross the finish line. Why is it so, right? Because 90% of the resumes get filtered at the resume level. So only 10% of the resumes actually make it to the next stage, which could be an assessment, or which could be an interview, or which could be any other process of selection. So you want to make sure that your resume is so good that among the clutter of thousands of resumes which are out there, your resume clearly stands out. If it is not going to stand out, it won't get the second look, right? So that's extremely important. Yeah. And what is a resume typically, right? A definition, a bookish definition of what the dictionary talks about is an exaggeration of the good things a person has done in the past, as well as a wish list of the qualities a person should have, right? So that's what the resume should contain. I'll talk about some 20 basic resume writing skills that will put you ahead of the competition in terms of the talent space. A lot of people think that having a long resume, because all of us in the colleges are used to writing long answer sheets. Unlike that, in a resume, try especially keep it to one page. You are coming out of a campus, you are coming out of an academic institution. So a person with a 20-30 years of experience could have more pages, but you should try and actually keep it to one page, right? And that's extremely important, because people don't have time to go through the multiple pages, especially when they're hiring freshers. Avoid spelling and grammar errors, right? You can't, right? Because if you ever make that, rest assured you're not going to be called even for the interview. So how important it is for your job tomorrow you're going to do, it may not be extremely important, but any spelling or a grammar error shows the amount of dedication and your commitment to quality and your commitment to your own work. Please understand, any document which you prepare, not just this is about resume, but anything which you do, it is reflective of your own personality. So if somebody sees a resume with a spelling error or a grammar error, that reflects your own personality, and say, oh, this person is okay with making mistakes. If this is the most important document you're going to give it to the other person and it has mistakes, that kind of shows your own personality. So please don't make mistakes, right? On that, the best thing you can do is, if you're not the best person in terms of spelling and grammar errors, have somebody review it, right? Because you're not going to prepare a resume every day, you only prepare it once. So please go to maybe your English professor or any other person and make sure that somebody goes through it and actually signs off. Yeah. And the next thing is about watching your tenses. People write in different tenses. They start something with the objective and then they write something. So please make sure that if you're writing everything in a past tense, try and do that, right? Don't make it different multiple tenses when you do this. Avoid the first person pronouns. When you say, what we mean is that try not to use words like I, you. So those are not the things. I have done this, or I can do this. So those are not the first person pronouns, are not generally accepted. So try and structure the same message in a different way, so that you're not using those first person pronouns. Okay. Format in a logical structure. Just imagine how, of course, nowadays, they have so many formats you have available digitally. You can go and do a Google search and other stuff, but try and format in a logical structure. Put yourself in the shoes of a recruiter who's going to be coming and talking to you tomorrow, and understand what is the person going to look for, right? So is the person going to look for my family background, or is the person going to bother about my age, or is that something which they are not going to be much interested? They're going to be bothered about my academic performance, or what kind of a project work I've done, what kind of skills I've done. So put in such a way that, because you don't want those things to be in the end of your resume. Ideally, what you think are the most important should be on the top of your resume, so that when somebody looks at your resume, he looks at what this person brings to the table, and that's what you should put in the logical structure. So many colleges follow a standard format, right? But in case you're deviating from it, make sure that what you want to project to the other person comes at the top, right? And yeah, keep it organized and visually appealing. Nice, neat, crisp boxes, and break into different segments, and make sure that it is visually appealing and it's easy to read. Uh, you know, some people make mistakes of too small a font or too big a font. The font is not consistent. Somebody has to really, go through. So try and make it easy to read for somebody. The other thing is, we always recommend this, is that always send your resume as a PDF. The reason is, not that somebody is going to go back and modify your resume, but when you send in a Word document, this is not the most consistent format related to all operating systems, right? So if somebody is accessing it from a different background, the alignment and everything could change. So our recommendation is always that send it in a PDF form. It's crisper, it's shorter, and the alignment actually is appropriate. And if you're putting any of the graphical files, whether it's a logo, whether it's a college logo, whether your own achievements and stuff, they could actually change if it is going to be in a Word document in any other format. Yeah, label your resume file correctly. That's another, a lot of people make a mistake. They don't, save the file name appropriately, and that also reflects very badly when a recruiter looks at you. And last but not the least is quantify as much as possible. What do we mean, right? Instead of saying I'm a good student, I'm a sincere student, try and reflect that in terms of a number, right? If you are a good student academically, you try and say that I have consistently been in the top 5 of the class. That speaks, rather than saying that I'm a hardworking student, right? Similarly, if you want to turn around and say that, I'm good in extracurricular activities, you have to say what is that you have done in extracurricular activities in a more crisper form. You can't just say extracurricular activities and running and other stuff. If you're really running is your passion and that's your extracurricular activity, you should write and say I have participated in X number of half marathons or full marathons, and my marathon timing is so and so. So that will talk much more credible than any other thing. And you don't need to necessarily have everything in your resume. Say what you have rather than say whatever other people write, right? So just don't need to copy others. Bring out what you have. Yeah. Include the context. Whenever you're trying to state a situation, try and bring the context when you have done and how you've done it. You don't need to write references in your resume. Some people end up writing and say you could reach out to my professor or my guide or whatever. It's not required. If the organization wants to ask you, they will ask you. Till that point at the time, you don't need to, right? You don't need to tell them. Keep it consistent, and yeah, in terms of creativity, bring in certain amount of information, pictorially representing it, graphically representing it. That's something, go by your gut feel, right? If you think you can graphically represent certain things which you have done, and you want somebody to take a look at it, do it. Use your own personal judgment of how appealing the resume looks. Name drop and title drop. Don't do that. That's not the best thing to do. Okay. You don't need to write everything what you've done before. Pick the 10 things or 5 things which you want the recruiter to know. So, rather than writing a long list of things, what all you've done, what all your achievements are, pick 5 or 6 things, right? That's what is going to be reflecting on and that's what the recruiter is going to look for, right? The next one, which is think about what makes you different. This is the most important thing, right? What do you want the recruiter to know about you, right? That you should be able to put it in the resume, in either in terms of the top section, either in the objective, or in terms of introducing you, right? If you are academically very good, it should come out there. If you are extremely good in terms of organizing things, and you're good in team building and teamwork, it should somewhere bring that out. Figure out what is it which is your strength, right? It's technology, domain, your ability to execute things, your ability to plan things, your ability to work with people. But you should bring it. But when you bring it, you have to bring in instances of how you have shown that capability. It can't be that I love working with people, I love working in teams. That doesn't speak anything, right? If you have done it, if you have shown the capability of working in teams or working with people, it has to come out through an instance which you have done, and it should speak about the amount of the kind of work you've done in that area, right? Otherwise, don't talk about it, right? You have to figure out and say, if you have a class of 50 people, what is it which makes you different? You will know that there are a few things which you stand out, right? That has to somehow come out of the resume, because the person who is looking at recruiter, in case he's looking for those qualities, those things, certainly he will pick up your resume. Think about specific job you're applying to. Yeah, so this is the most difficult part for people at the campus, right? So you would have done, maybe the campus offers you 2 or 3 specializations, 2 specializations, assuming, right? And you don't want to talk about and say, I love a marketing job, I love a finance job, I love a HR job. You want to generally make it very generic, and that's not the ideal thing to do. Okay, you should know what exactly which job you are looking for, and you try and project your resume for that. That's extremely important for you to be able to conceptualize, because this will set the tone for how you prepare for your interviews, set the tone for what you want to be able to showcase about what you can do. Not having a clarity, do I want a marketing job, do I want a finance job, do I want an HR job? Okay, let me try prioritize the company first. That's not the best thing to do. If you like HR, apply for an HR job, right? You like marketing, apply for a marketing job. Within marketing, let's say somebody says, I would love sales job, field sales job, write that, right? Because that's what you should apply for. And you should structure your resume in such a way that your skills about that specific job requirements come out of that. If you're not, then you are among the herd, and you are expecting the other person sitting across the table to find out what you bring to the table. That's a waste of time. If you are saying that I'm great in terms of a field sales, because my ability to convince people, my ability to sell a concept is better, bring out in the resume, so that the other person sitting across the table understands that, yeah, this person is interested in this, and he or she is bringing these skills to the table, and then they will have a conversation around that. So that's extremely important. And yeah, think about the person reading about your resume. What are they looking for? What will they likely look for? And how do you position yourself? That's extremely important. And at the end of the day, this is it's a storytelling document, right? It's you. At the end of the day, you are getting an opportunity to tell a story about yourself. So it's extremely important for you to give that kind of a time and energy to be able to tell a story. Imagine you're standing up and telling your story. You want the whole hall to be full of people wanting to listen to your story. You just don't want it to be another cacophony, right? So if it is a storytelling, and this is the only opportunity you have to tell about your story, think of how do you want that to be coming out in the document. So, and then write that whole thing. Another thing, people think that I should write about everything, where I did my schooling, where I did all this stuff. People won't bother about those things, okay? Where you did your schooling, where you're born, and all this stuff. So those are not important. What they are interested is, what can you do for them, and what are the skills you bring to the table. Focus all your effort. Imagine you only have 1 page to write a resume. Every square inch on that paper is so important for you. So you want to make sure that only those which you want the other person to read will go into the resume. Because now the moment you constrain and say, I have to put everything in my 1 page, you prioritize and say, what are the 20 things which I want to tell that person, which talks 80% of my me as a profile. So you have to bring that out. This is broadly the thing about the resume. And in case anybody has any questions on this specific aspect, I'm happy to answer for now. On this specific topic, then before I move on to the next one. Anybody has any questions? Okay, so I'll move on to the next one. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think Srini, you can go to the next. Concept. Like, they'll be asking questions.
Done. No problem. Done.
Right.
Yeah. So this is about building interpersonal skills. Why is it important? And because at the end of the day, please understand. So,
Sir, good morning, sir.
good morning.
Sir, is it necessary to write strengths and weakness in our resume?
Not required. Strength certainly you should write. Right. You don't need to necessarily talk about weakness, because that anyhow will get covered in your interview. Right. So certainly talk about your strength, what you bring to the table, and why somebody should be hiring you.
Sir, one more. Is it necessary to write the personal details also?
Well, like personal details means what do you want to, what do you think?
Personal details means writing father's name, occupation.
Not
Where are we from?
not required.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Not required. But those are, always you remember this, right? By giving the details, how is that going to help you get the job? Right? The person who is sitting across the table and he's evaluating you, telling about your father's name or where you're born, does not make sense to them, right? They are interested to know you. They are interested to know what you bring to the table, what are your strengths, what is the work and job you can do for them. So if imagine, as I said, only one page you have, you want to figure out and put only those things which matter there. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Actually, I'll straight go to the interviewing skills first. Interviewing or going for interview, right? And then I will come back to the other one later. Yeah. So now that I talked about how do you build a resume, next is obviously, in case you get a chance, you get a call for an interview, how do you go about doing it? That's another significantly important, right? Job interview is not a test of your knowledge, but your ability to use it at the right time, right? So, while it's extremely important for you to understand this, right? So, it's not unlike in an academic institution and where you are studying today, your ability to remember, read, understand, remember, and ability to reproduce that in an exam is extremely important, right? So whether it's a formula, whether it's a theory, it's a model, or it's a law question, anything, right? But in a real world, what happens is all that information which is containing in the books is accessible to you at the fingertip on your laptop or on the internet, or nobody stops you from actually referring to a book. So people don't look for your ability to talk about a thermodynamics theory or Philip Kotler's model and other stuff. While obviously, because you have spent 2 years studying a management degree, and people will look for a certain amount of knowledge, but what they look for is actually your ability to apply it well. They look for situations in which you're able to bring that knowledge and then actually apply it to a real-time life, right? So that's what is going to be both, not only just in the interview, but also in your job. That's what is going to be called for, because you have access to the knowledge. Your ability to apply knowledge is what is going to be looked at. Okay. 5 steps for a, I won't say a perfect interview, but you can prepare. People say that, practice, try and figure out what questions they will ask and all stuff. It necessarily need not make you perfect. Okay. Let me just do this. I'll use the other one. One minute, give me a sec. Yeah. So you can do that, but don't try and script your answers, right? People ask and say, okay, tell me about yourself. Try and script and say, I was born so and so. You don't need to do that, right? You try and then say that, okay, fine. If somebody gives me an opportunity to tell about yourself, what are the 3 things I want to say? You mentally prepare, but you don't need to rehearse every word of it. Okay, because people want you to come naturally, and the moment you prepare and over prepare on that, you're actually trying to remember what you prepared, and you're trying to get this out of your mind and tell the other person. Rather than that, if I want to tell and say that, okay, fine, if same question comes, tell about yourself, I will write and say, okay, I'm not going to talk about my father's name, where I'm born, which school I studied, and all this stuff, because that's not important to the other person. He wants to know about what I can do. I won't tell him only these things, and I will write those points, but I will not rehearse it to such an extent that I will say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I will say, this is what I want to say, and this is how I will say. So practice, but it's not necessarily that, you should be able to weave it around the question which comes out there. And identify your weaknesses. They will ask you the question, right? But, they would like to know more about not just weaknesses, but also about strengths, and also what are you doing about the weaknesses, right? So you should make sure that you're able to showcase your weaknesses in such a way that you're working around that, and that actually becomes a strength at that point of the time. Okay. But enough about me. Yeah, it's a time where you want to showcase yourself. Okay. People want to know and hear about you, and this is 10 minutes is given to you in an interview. That's the only 10 minutes which you have to impress the other person. So you want to showcase yourself. Beyond that, you also want to show that you're actively involved in the conversation. So you will ask questions about organization structure, plans, etc., etc. So that kind of gives the other person a feeling that this person is very much interested and wants to engage in a conversation. Extremely important, right? Especially because all of you are management graduates, going to be coming out and other stuff. Extremely important for you to do enough and more research about the organization you're applying to. Anybody who's sitting on the other side of the table, who's a recruiter, if they ask, if they get an idea saying that you have not done your homework in terms of about the organization, what they do recently, what has happened with the organization, and why are you looking at that organization, they will be extremely unhappy to spend even next 1 minute, and they will actually stop the interview. So please don't walk into an interview not knowing about the company and what has happened with the company in the last 90 days. If there are any major news, if there have been major results, any mergers, acquisitions, any new product launches, any other things which has happened with the organization, you should be completely well versed and aware of them. You should be able to have that conversation with that individual. If you don't, then the recruiter will find it extremely, I will say, annoyed, saying that this person wants a job from me but doesn't want to invest the time to able to research about my own organization. So rest assured you won't get the job. So make sure that you do the research. You should be able to have a conversation at least for a minute or two around the organization. Why do you think that organization is a great organization to work for, right? Have that. That's extremely important. So prepare well. Yeah. Open up. Yeah, just as important as finding out if you have the right skills and it's also how you fit the team. So you will have some questions where they will ask some personal questions, but you should every time they try and probe more, you should always be looking at an opportunity to showcase your positive things. That's extremely important, right? And leave them wanting more, right? Aside from, so you ask them more about and say, how does it work, and what are the career growth, etc. Those kinds of questions which they will generally like the interviewers asking, right? Always don't, when the interviewer finishes an interview and say, do you have any more questions? Don't walk away just like that. Nor also ask a very stupid question, right? Ask very intelligent and informed question, right? If you don't ask an informed question and ask a very standard question, sir, if everything goes well, when do you think we should join? Obviously, if that person is already covered in a pre-placement talk, asking that question will be very stupid, right? Rather than that, if you've done research about the organization or the role or the career prospects and those kinds of questions you want to ask about and say, sir, I've applied for this job, I'm looking for this. Typically, how does it work? What kind of a career opportunities I will get? Do I have an opportunity to go cross-functional if I joined as a marketing person? If tomorrow I like, or I think there's an opportunity in a finance function, can I apply? Those kinds of some intelligent questions you should ask, and also ask about more about if the organization has some further education opportunities. How do I build my skill set once I join the organization? If I want to study further, if I want to add more skills to myself, those are interesting questions which they want to know. Somebody wants to hire a person who is very keen on developing themselves and want to be a better professional as the days go. They don't want to be investing in a person who is just a passenger. So when there is an opportunity, when the recruiter asks you and say, do you have any questions for us? Don't just get up and say, thank you, sir, no, sir, and get away, right? That will be the worst thing you can do. So this is broadly the thing. And if you have any questions on interviewing, please tell me. I'll be happy to answer. So I'll just narrate a story about, yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, sir. I have a small question. Some people feel very nervous when they are attending the interview. Like after opening the door only, they feel nervous. So how can they overcome it?
So one is try attend as many mock interviews as possible. Ideally, your campus should be able to conduct some mock interviews and try and do a mock interview so that you're more comfortable about it, right? That's one. Second is within your group of classmates, try and have, if the organization is not able to do, you people have a kind of a mock interview happening. My 2 cents of suggestion is that don't worry about, don't get tensed about it, right? This is one opportunity for you to showcase yourself. This is like, let's assume if you have exactly 10 minutes for the whole world to listen to you, right? You want to go out there and talk everything what you have in those 10 minutes. Don't look at it. The fundamental makeup you have to go into in a job interview is, especially in the campuses, it's okay if you don't get the job, right? It's okay. But you are saying is that, look, there are some 4 people who came in from somewhere outside Hyderabad or Bombay or wherever it is. They want to listen to me. This is my opportunity to go and present to them, right? So go with more confidence and say there are people who are willing to listen rather than looking at nervous. Okay, that's one. Second is mock interviews. As far as possible, try and have mock interviews among the group of people and stuff. Third is prepare for the interview more from the job you're looking for. Let's say you're looking for an HR job or a marketing job. try and understand that organization. If it's a marketing job, try and understand what they sell, how does the distribution network work, what have been the products, what products failed, what products succeeded, and have more information about that, so that you go much more confident into the interview. Another tip I want to give to people who come from vernacular background, who came from maybe Telugu medium students or the stuff. Don't worry about your accent of English. Nobody hires you because you speak a good English or you have an accent of English. They want to know what content you speak. Another important tip for all the kids is that it's not about how many sentences you speak. It's about the quality of content you pack in those few sentences and tell the other person, right? And it's okay in an interview when somebody asks you a question, you don't need to be quick in 10 seconds to be able to respond and answer the question. You can always take time, right? You can say, okay, sir, thank you, sir. This is what I say. You can structure your thought, take your time, but when you deliver your answer, deliver it well with full information. That's what matters. So there are some people who will speak extremely good English, but that's not necessarily important for an interviewer to hire. They want to hear what you can do for them. So they want concrete. And one another thing I want to tell the whole class is that try and give as much of data and as much of concrete information to people. Let's say somebody says, okay, tell me, about yourself. Talk about data. Tell me what you have done in the sales side. Talk about data and say, I've done this, I've gone and sold this, I've launched this product, I did this market research, this is what we've done. So have examples to talk about. That gives you confidence rather than talk about in the air. So yeah, mock interviews is one good thing, but prepare well and have examples and concrete examples and data for you to be able to showcase in the interview. Yeah.
Good morning, sir. I'm Sriram from MBA. Sir, I have a question that when interviewer asks, tell me about yourself, is it necessary to speak about our family, like my father doing a marketing job or mother housewife, these kind of things? Is it necessary to say to the interviewer?
No. Frankly speaking, that's not going to help you at all, right? Imagine somebody's asking that question. Let's assume the person in his mind has only 2 minutes for you to answer that question. You don't want to talk about yourself. You don't want to talk about your family background. If they want more about family background, they'll ask you a question. Don't worry about it, right? If they want to know what your father is doing or what your mother is from, other stuff, how many siblings you have, they will ask you that question. Their decision to hire you is not going to depend on what your dad does. Their decision to hire you is going to depend on what Sriram can do for me. What is it Sriram is able to come and do for me? That's what. So your whole objective should be that 2 minutes you want to tell him about and say why they should hire you. If they have to hire you, you should tell them and say, you hire Sriram, this is what Sriram can do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what Sriram, this is how Sriram has done it, this is how Sriram will do tomorrow. They are not going to hire your father, they will hire you. So you're applying for the job, not your dad. If they want to ask about your family background, they'll certainly come and ask you and say, okay, now Sriram, okay, all is done, okay, now tell me about your family. That time we talk about it, no issue about it. Okay? And
I have another question.
Tell me.
What would be the package you are expecting? So how that I answer to that question?
So that's something in this one lecture that all organizations who come into campus already have a standard package. Okay, they're not going to define based on individuals. Predominantly, 99% of the people will get the same salary. So you should just turn around and say that whatever is your organization standard, I'm happy to take with that and go. Because they are not going to make it negotiable there, right? So that's the thing. So they will come with a standard. They will say whatever, if your campus is already inviting a company to come in, obviously the campus knows what salary they're going to offer to the candidates or students. So you already will know that, and just say that. You say that based on my capabilities, whatever the organization thinks, as a standard, I'll be happy to take that. Yeah. I think the screen is frozen. There is everything is fine. Hello. Yeah. Hi, Sriram. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If anybody has any questions. Yeah, while if other people are going to come in and ask a question, so one another thing which is extremely important. I want to give.
Sir, I have a
Tell me.
question. Sir, my name is Pooja. Sir, I have a doubt. Like, if they ask any kind of tricky questions, how to answer it? And if we are not understanding any idea or any clue, then
So if I'm you, this is what I will do. Right? There's nothing called tricky question. Right? So every question, they are expecting some response from you. If you did not understand a question, there's no problem in you asking them to repeat. Okay? Or you can also ask the question in return and say, "Do you mean this?" There's nothing wrong with that. Then answering wrong. Okay? You didn't understand the question, right? I'll just give you an example. Okay, in my interview, campus interview, way back in 1990, or 1990, right? So they had a situational question, and they kept telling me and said, "Try for the vaccine plant, and the work is stuck. So people have stopped working, and the reason for stop working was basically while the construction was happening, there are some 4 workers who died because some accident happened on the site, and now everybody stopped. And after 4 workers died, and after the plant commissioned on day 2, there was a boiler issue, and then 2 more workers died, and everybody said this is not the right place to have a plant, and we should shift the plant, and everybody stopped working. This is a situational case they're giving me, right? Then I told them and said that no, you should have a conversation with the workforce, and they will listen. Then they said no, they don't want to listen. They're saying shift the plant. Now they will put these kind of questions. Some of these questions are basically to understand how you are able to analyze a specific situation and answer the question. Frankly, if you ask me, there is no right or wrong answer there. They're not expecting you to be an expert to be able to go and handle a major industrial issue. They are saying, as a student, are you able to break the problem and understand the issue and able to give a logical answer? So as long as, so I asked them and said, what are the things you have done? They said, no, we did some puja and we did this, we did that, but it didn't work. Then I said, okay, did you have a conversation with the union? Then they said, yeah, we had a conversation with the union, and etc. So they kept telling me and said, this is what is happening, and what should we do? So the whole thing was more about how you respond to a situation, analyzing and applying your analytical skills. In some of the situational questions, there's nothing called a right or wrong. It's about your ability to interpret that. So there's no problem in you asking a clarification on a question which is being asked by a recruiter, because you rather get the clarification and answer it right than not asking that and answering it wrong. That will reflect bad on you. Okay.
thank you, sir.
And so while other people ask a question, I wanted to let you know that extremely important for all of you, the posture in which you sit in the interview, the confidence you show when you walk into the seat where you're going to sit, extremely important. Keep that in mind, and you don't need to rush and answer any question. You take your time. There's nothing wrong in you taking 5-10 seconds and structuring your thoughts. That's not a problem at all. And if you don't answer a question or you answer it wrong, don't worry about it, right? They are there to identify and give you an opportunity to answer more questions correctly. So look at it from that perspective. So don't worry about it. If you get one question wrong or you don't get the answer, right? You didn't understand the question. Don't worry about it. That's not important. You have to showcase what you have. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir. My name is Dharni. And what are the body language, tone, pitch, and which way we need to answer in an interview? Gestures and posture, as you have said now.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, be extremely confident. Yeah, sit. As a firm, right? Don't slouch in the forward or backward, right? And typically cross-leg sitting is not correct. Okay, so people tend to sit cross-legged when you sit in a chair. Don't do that, and you don't need to move forward or backward. Just sit, aram se, and be comfortable in the seat where you sit. Pitch, if there are only two people in the room and the distance between the interviewer and other stuff is only 2 or 3 feet, then you can maintain your pitch. You don't need to be very high pitched or low pitched about it, right? Just make sure that when you speak, don't speak in a rush and hurry. Speak spacing out. If you need, you practice it a little bit more so that the other person has a time to understand what you're saying and imbibe that. That's it. So and nothing wrong. If you have to apologize and say sorry, sir. For the previous question I answered this, but now I remember that this is the correct answer. There's nothing wrong in it in going back and correcting it. Nobody is going to not give you marks for that. They will rather accept it and stuff. So yeah, just be firm, right? Don't be nervous, right? And go into the interview and say, even if I don't get this job, it's okay, right? It's the company's loss, not my loss. So that's what you should think through. Yeah. Okay. So before I go to the next part of the session, yeah. So my advice is that yeah. So the campus will give you some opportunity to do mock interviews. Please do that. Prepare and then understand yourself more about what your strengths are, what you want the recruiter to know. So write down those 10 things which you think you're very good at and which differentiates you from others. And then once you have those 10 things, then talk about and write down why you say so. I'll just give an example, right? Let's think you say that I'm an extremely hardworking and committed person. That's your strength, and that's what makes you different from other people in the class. Now, beyond saying that you are a hardworking and committed person, how can you show concrete examples of your hard work and commitment? Okay, you should be able to bring that out and then be able to have instances where if somebody listens to that, will know and decipher from that and say, yeah, if somebody listens to the story, they will turn around and say, yeah, so and so person is hardworking and so the person is committed. Now that instance you should be able to bring, that data you should be able to bring. And so create a small table for yourself and say, what are the 10 things which somebody should know about? These are the things they should appreciate of me. And then next to that, you write down in another column and say, okay, this I will inform people through this, right? Hardworking could be, something you can turn around and say that, I've consistently scored very well in the exams, right? Commitment, you talk about it and say what you've done about the commitment. Somebody says that I'm extremely good in analytical skills. I'm extremely good in planning skills. I'm extremely good in XYZ. So figure out a way in which you'll be able to bring that skill out there. That's what they want to listen beyond English. So make that investment in building your own showcase. That's what is extremely important for you to do that. So prepare well and have that whole chart for yourself. And then the moment somebody gives you an opportunity to showcase and say, okay, tell me about yourself, you should turn around and say, Okay, I'm so and so. For me, this is extremely important. This is what I bring to the table. I've taken this. I want to apply for this job because I like this, and I can use my skills like this. So that should have something which you should be able to prepare and keep it yourself ready. Yeah, I'm not sure how many students are there here who are from first year. Rajesh Garu, are there any people from the first year here in this? No, right?
No, sir. All are second year only.
Okay, done. Then I will only just stop. Then I'll open this. Yeah. Yeah. So interpersonal skills is something which people will ask for and people will look for because in our life, okay, while we're born as individuals and unfortunately the academic system has always trained us to be competing individually. We all assessed on our individual capabilities. In a real world, you don't work alone, you work with people. So there's nothing which as an individual you'll be able to do except you have to collaborate with others and work together with others. That's the only way we'll be able to accomplish things. So it's extremely important for you to be able to, one, hone those skills or build those skills, and second is you're also able to showcase those because that's what people will hire you for. So yeah, how do you do that, right? The fundamental thing in terms of improving your interpersonal communication skills, be cognizant of yourself. I'll just use this. Yeah. So the fundamental thing is your ability to be able to understand yourself is extremely important, right? You should be self-aware about what you are good at, what you do, how you communicate, your emotions, your empathy, and your relationship building. These are extremely important for you to understand and aware of yourself. And this is the fundamental building block on which you will be able to build your interpersonal communication skills as you go forward. Because there will be certain things. Some people are very good in terms of non-verbal communication. Some people bring in a lot of emotions in their communications. Some people will bring in a lot of empathy in their communication. Some people have a challenge in terms of thinking in a native language and trying to translate that into an English, right? Either of this is fine. The fundamental thing you need to know is that you need to first understand what you're good at and how do you think and how do you communicate. Once you are aware of yourself, and then what happens is your ability to build on this and able to have a conversation will be extremely easy. And another important thing in terms of your interpersonal communication skills is you have to be extremely conscious, respectful, and empathetic towards others, right? The reason is while all of us have our own thoughts and opinions, but they will be different from others. When you want to engage in positive communication, interpersonal skills, it's extremely important to accept others' views, and they could be some completely different from what we have. So that's a fundamental thing to be able to acknowledge and build on that. If you're not being conscious of what others think and what others prefer, you are not listening to them. You not listening to them will not actually enable a conversation. The other person switches off in a conversation, right? And when you're doing this, other people may not say that, look, you know what, you're not listening to me, or you're not empathetic to me, or you're not respecting me. Everybody need not verbally express this. They might also show it through the visual clues. I mean, they might not look at you. They might turn the head some other way, or they will start suddenly when you're having a conversation with them, they'll start looking at their mobile phone. These are all the signals that they're not connected with you. The reason they are not connected with you is that maybe you're not able to engage them. So you have to go back and look at it and say, how do I do that? Actively listen to others is another extremely important. I'm sure your campus would have taught you about active listening. It's extremely important, and extremely important when you're sitting across an interview. So you just don't listen to what the individual says, but you also look at their non-verbal communications and be able to have a conversation with them, right? So active listening is extremely important, because sometimes when they're asking questions, you have to be able to get and understand how and what they're meaning, right? So if you are not getting it right, there's nothing wrong in asking them again and say, did you mean this? Okay. Embrace brief reflective silences by pausing rather than rushing to respond. As I said, you don't need to immediately within 5 seconds to respond to the question. There's nothing called a fastest buzzer reward you get here. So you take your time, right, and then answer it well. Using silence is extremely important, because when the other person is speaking, give a pause and use silence, and give yourself some time before you respond to what the other person is asking. Respond to the speaker with open questions and not with commentary. This means that you care enough and want to learn more about what the other person has to say. When you respond to any other individual, when other person is explaining certain things, you can always ask a question. Say, can you be more elaborate on this? I would like to know more about it. Rather than saying, very nice, sir, thank you, sir. You can ask more open questions, which will encourage the other person to say more. If somebody asks you a situational question, you can ask a little more and say, yes, sir, I got it, but can you be more elaborate? Can you help me understand this better? So those open questions are something, open-ended questions are something which will be extremely important for you to use when you're having a conversation across the table. Okay. Yeah. So truth telling, when you speak, it has to come from your heart. That's something which other person will be able to really see through. So try and be as truthful as possible when you say certain things. So that's something which recruiters will be able to gauge very easily and say, is this person telling the truth, or is this person trying to answer a question? So try and be truthful, because that's extremely important, because other person is looking at you, not just about what you say, but also your general body language. Yeah. Avoid talking for others over others or speaking for them. Yeah. So always remember that you're representing yourself, and it's extremely important to know that you don't represent others. So when you don't represent others in an interview or any kind of a scenario where you are representing yourself, speaking on behalf of others, so generally this happens, or generally this is what I heard will be done. Those are not good statements to have, right? You speak for yourself and say, this is what I felt, this is what I think is correct, this is what I think is wrong. That's important, right? And talking low of others or over others is also not something which people appreciate. So that's extremely important. Especially people try and deride their background, their state, their city, their institutions. Those are not some things which are generally being looked well by companies. So you should stay away from those kinds of statements, right? People don't like you commenting negatively about where you live, what you do, and with whom you work with, right? Because everybody will have positives and negatives, so they would rather want you to appreciate those. Yeah. So whenever you respond, it's always extremely difficult for you to say, yes. You can always do yes, but. Okay. But when you start the conversation with no, then before even you say the next word, other person is switching off. So try and, when you have a conversation, try and answer that question when in that conversation, starting with say yes, yeah, great, wonderful. But you can always say your point of view. But instead of saying that no, but that the moment you say no, it puts the other person, disconnects the other person from the conversation which you wish to have. So broadly, this is the thing. And I will just show you this video. I'm hoping that this video will be visible there too.
Sir, did you play the video?
Yeah. Can you see the video?
No, sir. We cannot able to see the video, sir.
Oh, okay. Why? Because it's not working.
Stop your, yes, sir. Stop your current presentation.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay. And again, start presentation. Share screen.
Okay.
Select the video part.
Like the video part.
Yeah.
How do I do that? That?
In the share screen option, you have an application window. In that application window, you can select the video.
I've not downloaded the video. It's I have to log into the net to be able to. Can I show that?
Okay, then click on the share screen audio. Share screen presentation, and then share your entire screen.
Okay, entire screen. Okay, got you.
Yeah. When you click the entire screen, you have an option like share audio at the end. Click on the share audio option also.
Okay. Yeah. Screen. Yeah. Got it. Can you see now?
Be honest. Do you really want a video that looks like this? There's a good reason why presenters use images and visualizations while they talk.
Play from the beginning, sir.
Friends, I have a confession to make. I sometimes do stupid things. For instance, when I'm at home, having made dinner for the family, and I want my kids to join us, I bring out the phone and send them a message. Dinner is ready. This is really embarrassing because they are not in another part of the city. They are in their rooms, 15 steps from where I'm standing. And I can see on your face, you realize as well as I do that this is a crazy, stupid behavior. But I still do it. Why? You know why? Because I'm lazy and it's so easy. Wouldn't you agree that it's much easier to inform than to engage? That it's much easier to pretend that you're efficient when you're just adding to the digital noise. And I should know better. For the last 25 years, I've been studying the success factors of analog communication in an ever more digital world. Things like what you say, how you sound, how you look, how you listen. And those are skills you need if you want to achieve results when you cooperate, when you sell, and when you lead. If you want to be a great leader, you also want to be a great communicator. You want to communicate with energy, with clarity, and with empathy. Energy so that I believe that you believe. Clarity so you take away as many misunderstandings as possible. And empathy so I feel that you get me. And this is really hard to do. It takes time to master this. Effort, willpower. And it's so much more tempting to just cruise down the digital highway, to enter the candy store of digital tools and digital toys where you can swipe left or right or like something or just spend time there. So the question is, as we go down and as we wander deeper and deeper into this digital candy store, are we losing our communication skills? Or we risk losing it at least? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes. There are challenges that we should be aware of. First, as the digital consumption goes up, the level of empathy is going down, especially but not only among young people. And this is alarming, but it shouldn't come as a surprise, really, because the time you spend in your bed or sofa or by your desk interacting in the digital space is time you don't get to practice social skills in your analog space. Second, we are more and more impatient. 25 years ago, the communication experts said that we had an attention span of about 20 minutes, which coincidentally is the maximum length of a TED Talk. Recently, though, I was told by a university professor that we are down to 3.5 minutes. The change is staggering. We are becoming the scanning generation, scanning for likes and executive summaries and nuggets of information. Quick things, quick fix, instant gratification. The third challenge is that we are constantly interrupted. Now more than ever before. And just imagine yourself being in a face-to-face conversation with somebody and the phone rings. You don't have to pick up the phone, but you do have to pick up the conversation because you just got disconnected. And this will only increase as we add more and more communication channels. Because here's the thing. Just because we add more and more communication channels doesn't mean we add more and more communication quality. You know, we used to only have 2 channels a couple of million years back, body language and voice. A couple of 100,000 years ago, spoken words, 3 channels. A few thousand years ago, we invented the written language, 4 channels. Now we can even skip body language and voice. And then, of course, it progressed. And with electricity came the broadcasting services like radio, TV, newspapers. And then we have telefax, telephone, computers, SMS, email, mobile phones, video conferencing, chatting, PowerPoint. God bless us all. And then, of course, social media with all the messenger services around it. Multiple channels. So what can we do in this situation? I say we should reclaim and enhance our focus on analog communication skills. Over the years, I've gathered some 12, 15 communication truths or principles or lessons, and I'd like to share some of them with you right now. First, 3 generic ones, universals, before we step into some more practical hands-on lessons as well. So are you ready? Yes. Okay, fasten your seatbelt because here we go. Lesson number 1. You cannot not communicate. Everything about you communicates. What you wear, what you eat, what you drive, what you say, what you do, everything. If you enter the office looking like that, or if you come to the school to pick up your kids looking like that, you might think that you are oh so busy, oh so cool, a top performer. But chances are that your colleagues or your kids will think, whatever is on that screen is more important than me. And I don't know about you, but I've been that person, to my kids when I pick them up from kindergarten. And they say, can you please turn off the phone when you pick us up, Daddy? It doesn't feel so good when you hear that. First lesson. Second, you cannot say what you mean. Our brains are not computers. We don't have linear thought processes. We are messy. So whatever comes out is not exactly what you intended. And it gets worse because every one of you have your own interpretation of what I just been saying. And that goes for you as well. Everyone. And depending on your own filters, you will have different memories of what I've been saying afterwards. Take that with you as well. And let's go to lesson number 3. You have a power. You can make people feel the way you want them to feel. What you think, what you say, what you do will affect not only how you feel, but also how they feel, which will affect how well they perform. So be careful what thoughts and words and actions you cultivate, because they will make an impact. If you praise me, I'll get happy. If you cry, I'll get sad. If you show me 51 boring corporate PowerPoint slides, I'll get sleepy. Cause and effect. So those were 3 universal ones, generic ones. Let's go into some more practical ones, hands-on lessons as well. Are you okay with that? Can we go with that? Yeah. Okay. So now we have to look at, what do I mean with practical ones? Well, where do you really exercise your leadership on a day-to-day basis? If you're a manager in an office environment, you spend at least half of your time in meetings. Am I right? Monday meetings, status meetings, project meetings, management team meetings, kickoff rallies, conferences, customer meetings, all the time. So let's put the next 3 lessons in a meeting context. And now you have to imagine that you are you're the head of product management for your company. And you just got an email from the VP of sales, and she apologizes and says, really sorry, I'm double booked. In 1 hour, a new potential client will come to the office. 5 people. The CEO, she will be there, the purchasing director, and some other people as well. And since I'm double booked, you have to take care of this meeting. 1 hour from now. That's the scenario. Okay, so 1 hour later, you're at the reception. You have booked a conference room and you Google them so you kind of find out who they are. And now you're standing there. Your heart is pumping, hands are a bit sweaty. They are running late, which is good for you because then you can control your breathing here. And then the entrance doors opens. 5 people steps in. It's them. They see you. And unconsciously, when they walk toward you at that moment, they will form an opinion of you. Whether or not they like you, and whether or not they perceive you as a threat. Let's do an exercise. Very soon here you will see a person A and a person B on this screen, and you can observe 3 things about them. And your task is to, within a second from when you see it, shout out which one you like the best. Do you understand the task? Yes. You cannot analyze here. It's just 1, 2, 3. All right, good. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Hey. Most of you said A, right? But then you start to laugh now because you say, they're the same. They are not the same. The order of your observation matters. This is called the primacy effect, but we know it as the first impression. And here's the thing. If whatever first impression your client has, they don't want to change their mind. According to the Center for Body Language in Belgium, communication experts, 70% of all first impressions last. So the 4th lesson is first impressions last. Now you have done a great job because all of those 5 people perceive you as person A. Isn't that nice? Yeah, so they like you unconsciously already. Now let's build some more trust and take them to the conference room. Let's go for lesson number 5. It's better to be interested than interesting. This is the number one trait for any good salesperson, but it's also the number one trait for any good manager. People want their managers to see them, to recognize them, to be attentive, curious. Doesn't mean that they have to agree on everything. It's just a matter of respect that they see them. How do you do this? It's pretty straightforward. You ask questions and you listen, not to respond, but to understand. Big difference. If your customer in this scenario, this potential client trusts you, this is where you win the business. If your people trust you, this is how you win their hearts. So be curious, be interested, be present. Which, by the way, is a big challenge if you forgot your phone on the table and it starts to buzz and beep and flash, because you can't help but to react in real time. You just have to look at the phone. It's the exact same reaction as your ancestors 10,000 years ago were in a forest. Everything was calm and quiet and a branch snapped. Poof. All their attention would go towards that sound. Is it a hostile tribe member who wants to enslave me? Is it a hungry tiger wanting to eat me? Is it perhaps an attractive person who I can mix my DNA with, prolong my lineage so I can become you, in the future? So you look at the phone because you have to. You don't have a choice. Of course, what you should do is to turn off the phone. What you should absolutely not do in this scenario is this. Look under the table. Like, swipe left, swipe right. Good. So you don't want, and you don't do this, of course. You don't do this. But it takes me to lesson number 6. Your body speaks louder than words. Now let's get really practical here and work on some non-verbal communication clues. We start with, this one. You're in this scenario. Okay, you're in with the client, this potential client, and you don't want to look arrogant, do you? No, you don't. But do you know that the difference is only 1 inch between looking arrogant and normal? 1 inch, 2.54 centimeters. Let's do a test. Pair up 2 and 2, face each other and say, nice to meet you. And then you do it again and you lift your nose 1 inch. Feel the difference. Go ahead, try it now. Thank you. Now try to detect that with your head in your phone. That's going to be tough. Let's take a couple of more. It's time for you to present to this potential client. So you stand up and you do this. What does this signal? This means that you're comfortable being vulnerable. It means that you're inclusive and that you value other people's opinions. Great. You think I'm going to do this all the time. No, you're not. If you overdo this, you come across as insecure and emotionally weak. Oh, I don't want that. I'm going to do this. Okay, good. Now you're signaling certainty. You're stating a fact, not to be debated. If you overdo it, you will come across as rude and insensitive to other people's feelings. Balance it. Let's take one more. Eye contact. You have the client in front of you, 5 people, the CEO, the purchasing director, some other people. How long should you look at someone before it's time to switch? The general rule of thumb is 3 seconds. Then you have time to establish a connection, get a nod, move on. You don't want to do this. If you don't dare to look at someone, then you will come across as nervous and stressed and not very trustworthy. On the other hand, if you lock eye to only the CEO, the decision maker, very soon.
Yep, I'm back. Yeah, so thank you. We have a few more, but today is only a 90-minute session. So before I open it for any other questions, I wanted to just let Professor Rajesh as well as everybody know that this is the first session we're having with the campus. We will do a lot more deep dive on each of this in terms of both resume writing and interviewing skills, because most of you are second-year students. We'll have one dedicated session only about resume writing. We would need some volunteers to be able to present their resumes, and then we will actually work with you in terms of how do you build your resume, right? And then similarly in interviewing skills, we will actually conduct a more dedicated workshop. This is basically an introductory session. where we will actually help you understand the questions, and we will do some kind of a I'll say virtual mock interviews. We'll try and do that. We'll help you if anybody has any specific questions. We'll answer that. We'll also listen to certain responses from some of you for some standard questions which could come across in your interviews. What if they can come up with their own response, something like, tell about yourself, right? So we'll listen to a few of you structuring it, putting your thoughts, and we'll give you feedback about, is it comprehensive? Is it delivering what it needs to deliver? Are you missing certain things? Or is it English? Or are you able to add data? We'll give you certain feedback about some of those stuff. But those dedicated sessions we will have later. I think one of my colleagues called Ravi Dasri is going to work with the professor in terms of scheduling those as we go along. But this is basically a fundamental introductory session we wanted to have, and where we'll touch upon these three aspects. And we will also do one more session separately dedicated on the interpersonal skills. What works and how does it work? How do you communicate, especially in an interview? How do you make sure that you're confident, you're sounded confident, not arrogant, like he said, and you're not sounding weak, you're not sounding nervous, and those stuff. So some of those stuff, we'll cover that. But broadly, if this is an introductory session, wanted to just check with any of you if anybody has any questions. Happy to answer. And Professor Rajesh will work with you all in terms of dates for the next set of we will have. Anybody has anything to answer on, all of the things, either in terms of benefits or in terms
Yeah, any questions from the student side? Otherwise, I think we'll end the session now. On behalf of PB Siddhartha, I think there is a query from one of the students. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hello, sir. Myself, Navyata SP from MBA second year. I had a question regarding in attending the interview, can we use jargons while communicating? Is it a good sign or a bad sign?
So, if it is needed, you to do the job to explain a concept, please by all means go ahead and do that, right? Because you have explaining a concept or something. But if you don't understand the jargon well enough, try not to. Okay. So let's assume somebody asks organizational restructuring, right? Nice sounding word, we use it, but if you don't know it, try don't know about the jargon well enough. So if you want to explain, let's say you have to use those words and jargon, please by all means, right? But jargon, just because of jargon, not understanding what they mean, actually can put you in trouble. Because interviewer, if they ask you a written question and say, okay, now that you use the word called organizational restructuring, can you explain what it means and have done ever? Then you're falling into a trap, right? Use it, you know it well. Otherwise, just avoid it. Using jargons necessarily is not going to get you the job. What's going to get you the job is whatever you say confidently and you understand the concept.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Lalita from MCOM. I have a question, sir. What is the difference between curriculum vitae and resume?
Yeah, you can go with a very official, but just use resume, right? Those are current word borrowed, but curriculum mistake is of once simple thing. Resume is, I think, there is people. Right? Earlier people used to call something called biodata and all on. Resume is the most appropriate thing to say. TV is not necessarily or it's really get answered.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah, I think there are no further questions for this session. On behalf of PP Siddhartha College of Arts and Science, I profusely thank for the initiation taken by National NHRD Network, Hyderabad Chapter, especially Srini Udumula, the president of the chapter, and very thorough professional in the field of HR, an alumnus of XLRI. I wish all my students should wear PB Siddhartha College t-shirt whenever they were invited as guest speakers in future. I also thank Dr. Ravi Dasari for coordinating with us and making a part of the MOU we are about to sign with the National HRD Network. So there is a bunch of people who helped us, especially from TCS and other leading organizations. So in this, Mr. Srikanth of TCS is also a strong supporter of our own college, PV Siddhartha. On this note, I profusely thank once again Srini Udumula on behalf of Department of Business Administration, PV Siddhartha College of Arts and Science, for spending more than 2 hours, 1 hour 27 minutes 35 seconds. We are on the live on YouTube. All the students can go back to the YouTube and you can visit n number of times. This will be a permanent record of the session. So in this context, once again, we will be looking forward for the support of National HRD Network. Thank you very much. Thank you, Srini.
Thank you, Professor Garu, and thank you to all the students. Good luck. In case I end up taking the next set of sessions, I'll come back and see you all. Otherwise, my colleagues will come. But good luck. All the best. Believe in yourself. The world is at your feet. God bless you.
Thank you. We are ending the session. Thank you very much. All the best.